Hey everybody, this is Adam Perry with TrueDFS, and I am going to go over tonight's another second of the week giant NHL DFS slate. There's 13 games. The NHL continues to schedule 13 plus games on Tuesdays and Thursdays, leaving us lucky to get 2 or 3 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I think we've had 2 on Monday. We had 2 yesterday, or maybe 3 on Monday, something like that. And we're going to have 2 tomorrow. So really our big DFS day, almost too big, is going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. That will probably extend going forward unless the NHL schedule changes. I don't think that it does. The good news is that like last Tuesday, and like most NHL slates, there's not a ton of news for us to be aware of. I do think it is always good to have these Twitter accounts online, game day lines and game day news, have them kind of, I tend to look a few times a day just to keep up with anything and anyone who might be not necessarily out, but who might be like a game time decision. That's always the thing in DFS is not, we don't mind guys being out. We do mind last second changes that we have to be aware of, but it doesn't appear to be any. Looking at teams that practice special teams, Utah, same power play lines. Dallas, we got regular lines, same power play as expected for New York, and we can go down. These are all captured in SaberSim. Here's power play 2 for Colorado. I think we know power play 1 is the same, but good sign for Girard to return. So one of their defensemen, I think Samuel Girard. So no real news to be too aware of, which means it's a pretty straightforward day to just build in SaberSim. Maybe we'll do like last time some sort of experiment just to test things out. So I'm going to build using my normal process in SaberSim. It should be pretty straightforward, but you'll get a feel for how I do it in building for the type of contest that I play. And then maybe today we'll experiment using Goldie's projections. I think Sheets doesn't have his in there just yet. Let's see. Not yet, but so we'll use Goldie's projections and we'll see how different the out-of-the-box SaberSim stuff is right now versus what Goldie had this afternoon. And we will we'll take a look at how things differs. A good experiment. We did this once with Sheets, and we saw that just having different inputs, even if you use the same fields to simulate against, you get pretty different results. So it's pretty cool to see, and it shows you how much projections do matter. So get good projections on those inputs, and you won't have garbage in, and you won't get garbage out. I'm not saying SaberSims are. I tend to use them, but something to think of. I also have it sorted by value here. So you could see there's like actually some pretty decent value. Lekker Amaki on EV1, and if he is in fact on power play 1 at 2,600, he's really going to pop. I don't think that ownership would stay there if that's going to be the case, but let's see. Let's see what happens, but pretty good value. Usually we only have 1 or 2 guys around the 3 range. We have 3 pretty significantly above 3 points per dollar, and 2 of them are wingers. Sometimes you get the cheapo defenseman, but a lot of good options here. Another power play guy in Doan. So yeah, let's go ahead and build. So as I've shown in the past, I tend to prefer bigger stacks. SaberSim tends to prefer bigger stacks. So I know that I'm only going to play those. So I just X out from my exposure all of the stacks that are under 5. That's pretty aggressive with onslaughting, but I know I'm going to do it anyway. So I want a pool of 5,000 lineups that is going to give me as many options as possible. And I know, so let's see, actually, before I switch the ownership, pull up this 222 here and add a simulation of the contest. So what a simulation of the contest does, it says, hey, here's ownership, and this is what we think the field's going to play in your 167-man contest. And, if you played this lineup against that field, this is where its ROI would tend to fall. It's going to simulate how you would perform against that field. I think SaberSim's like 100,000 times, and get an ROI calculation to estimate that. So that's what we're going to do here for this contest I'm playing, the 2-2-2. And it uses an ownership that's going to reflect what they think the ownership is, which is it's a high stakes contest. It's $222. It's a 5-entry max, so they use their 20 max bucket. So when I build these lineups, I want these lineups to reflect that as well. So instead of simulating against the normal flagship ownership, I'm going to simulate against their high stakes 20 max, I'm going to build using their high stakes 20 max bucket. So I'm going to let the builder take that into account. Give me 5,000. I do not care about salary. If a lineup is deemed good, it's deemed good. But I am going to change the correlation down for the smaller field size, which goes to 5. And I'm going to keep the sim variance up. I want to get like a pretty wide variety of lineups. I don't want it to just jam in the highest projected. And so with sim variance in 9, it's going to choose from a much smaller bucket of sims. SaberSim has videos explaining exactly how they do it. But basically, they run play-by-plays. And if you have it at 10, it just takes each lineup as the winning lineup from a play-by-play. If you have it at sim variance 9, it's going to average 3 lineups together and take those for each of your 5,000. And it gets more and more of a weighted average as you go down. So, at sim diversity 5, it may take a bucket of 50 lineups and average those and give you your highest projected best lineup. But we want some pretty high variance, I think, in DFS. And also that's going to give us a variety of different stacks, I imagine, to go from. So I think we're good to go ahead and build. So we'll do this once. We'll see what we get. We'll simulate it and pick a lineup. And then I will just go right on over and upload Goldies and see how different it is. This is always a bit slow. We can go back. The news. One reason the news really matters is because of the speed of this. I mean, it's going to take us 3, 4, 5 minutes to build. Now, if you're waiting for game time decision news and you really want to simulate, you're better off knowing ahead of time that that's coming and being prepared, because you're going to need some time to build lineups. We'll see if it even builds us 5,000, because we've pretty serious constraints on the builder, telling it to only build these kinds. So we'll see what it pulls and how many. But that's okay. As long as we get in the thousands, I'm okay with it. I would rather have, 1 to 2,000 lineups I'm going to play than 500 lineups I'm going to play and 4,500 lineups that I'm not going to play. One thing that was nice about the Tuesday slate is the games didn't really have a late night hammer. It kind of were all in this 7 Eastern, 8 Eastern window. Here we got some late night stuff. I'm in Central Time, so 8:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. At least we don't have the 9:30. But I'll be sweating them, so I'll be up all night sweating them. Let's let it keep going. As well, let's see who Sheets' equation. I'm just, if you hand built using Goldie's stuff right here and Sheets' value score equation, Nashville clearly jumping. You've got 3 guys that are correlated and are in the top 10 values. They're not cheap, but they're nowhere near like McKinnon or Kucherov or Jack Hughes. He's kind of hovered around 9K. Dallas has a couple. I don't think Stankoven's on power play 1 and Robertson is. We just saw the lines. They're not on the same lines. Here you got the Stamkos with Nashville. So if you're hand building, there's a way to go. You could have Dodonov on line 1 with Robertson. He might be on power play 2 with Stankoven for the Dallas guys. Let's see where we're at. All right, we got about 3,500. That's good. Our pool, Nashville. There you go. Most represented in our pool. Let's see if we sorted by their Sabre score metric in the top 10 lineups. Got a Columbus, New Jersey 6-stack, and a Columbus. So let's run Sims against that contest. Let's see. All right, so simulated ROI. We've got some Toronto. And then it's a wide range of 6-stacks that it likes. Usually you get more 5s than 6s, but you get the 6s in there. You get that New Jersey, Florida, Winnipeg. I mean, Winnipeg, if I had, we ran the video on Tuesday and we got a Montreal lineup and a Winnipeg lineup. And I do these in the afternoon, so things change, and I didn't end up on Winnipeg. I would have had the Kyle Connor first period hat trick, not to mention the 2 or 3 other correlated goals that Winnipeg had. And I didn't cash that night. I would have definitely cashed. I think that lineup that we built on stream was like Connor and the Winnipeg stack, but it had Vasilevsky, who didn't do well at goalie. So luckily we didn't like have a bink lineup that we didn't play to take down that contest or have a shot at it. But it was a pretty good lineup. It would have hard not to cash with Connor that night. He was so low owned too. So anyway, here you can see what we will get to if we just ran SaberSim kind of out of the box. We'd have quite a few options. I mean, this Winnipeg comes in at a simulated ROI of 62.4. We go down in the top 10, 57.8. So, I mean, there's really no difference between any of these. Just using SaberSim's metrics. I mean, we could play any of these lineups and probably then some. So you may have a team you like or players you like. I'm inclined to think with all this New Jersey and Toronto showing up that there's some chance they could go over-owned. Maybe not. But given the fact that they're not really separating that much in terms of ROI from the rest of these lineups, we go down to 15, it's 54. I would just say fade the New Jersey with the fear that SaberSim, some percentage of users are just using SaberSim just like us. And if it's funneling everyone into New Jersey, then maybe they're not going to end up with a 55 to 62, positive expected ROI. So, that may not be the case, but when you have equal options that look a little less fishy and less potential to be played by the rest of the field, I just assume go for it. I mean, one Winnipeg, and here you get a few Winnipegs, Floridas, New Jerseys. So I just assume go to the Florida or Winnipeg. Let's see what happens if we do the same process over again and we just upload goldies. I have them downloaded already. So, okay, I've got name in there, team dinner salary I don't need. Projection is in. And ownership's in. I have this like legacy of my SaberSim plan. If you have the TrueDFS SaberSim package, these will be automatically uploaded. So they'll be even easier. Not that this was hard. It's good. Okay, we've got goldies in there. Applied. Let's rebuild some lineups. And then we'll see what we get. And we had 12 and a half on Nashville already. We'll see if we get any more. I mean, Kucherov and Hagel are coming up pretty high in value too. And Point, he was only out. He wasn't out with an injury. He was like missing a team meeting. So he should be back. So Tampa, they're all coming up as really good plays. But boy, are they expensive. So it's hard to imagine the builder getting too much Tampa five-mans when you have 3-4 guys that are really pricey in there. It's just really prohibitive if you could do it at all. And what happens? I think we did this last time. Tampa. Did I miss them? Oh. Yeah, I mean, they're playing Anaheim. What better spot could you ask for? So I think if you wanted to go like Point, Kucherov, Hagel, I don't know. Even throwing a cheap goalie or a mid-price goalie, Melka. You're not getting any more Tampa guys unless you're getting, you're not getting like Hedman. Can't even do it. You could play some of the cheaper D guys. I mean, you could play Radish. He's pretty good, but he's not going to correlate with these guys on anything but even strength. And Paul Cirelli, I mean, they're already getting up there. I'm not going to stop the builder. I want to let it run as long as possible, even if it's a bit slow. Let's see if anything came in. One thing I like about SaberSim is it won't just jam the best teams. There's enough. Slowing down my PC too. All right. Well, I didn't cut it off on purpose, but it's. So we got 4,000 lineups. That's plenty. Let's see how they. So using Goldie's projections. Yeah, we get even more Nashville. I mean, that makes sense, right? And we don't get that much of the Tampa, despite the individual players looking like good values. But you get a lot of the Nashville. They popped even more than they did with SaberSim stuff. Let's see what you get in the top lineups using their SaberScore metric. Washington. A lot of variety. Washington, you get a Florida, you get a Vancouver, you get a Seattle. Washington and Vancouver are the most representative if we take 6 and 5s, but you can get a lot of everything. So now, one of the tough parts is we'll run a simulation and see what happens. But now when we run the sim, we are running against fields that SaberSim built using their ownership and not Goldie's. So it'll be interesting to see if that brings us back to those lineups we were getting, which was like the New Jersey and the Florida little Winnipeg. So let's see. No, not at all. Jam, Tampa. You got a Winnipeg in there in the top 10. A lot of Winnipeg, but Tampa, Winnipeg, if you're using Goldie's projections and you're running against them, quite a bit different. Let's go out a little further because, let's see, you get Colorado. Goldie stuff is really favoring, top teams too. Let's see where the simulated ROI. I mean, very big difference in what it thinks the simulated ROI would be too. So you're getting really different from what SaberSim is going to do. Look at the difference in the simulated ROI if you use Goldie's projections. 107.8. Our top lineup was 62 using SaberSim. So I think what's happening there is you're just getting so different in your set of lineups that in your pool using these different projections, and then you're simming against SaberSim instead of using SaberSim's own to simulate against it. And so it's giving you a much different kind of variety than what it can do with its own projections in its own field. At least that's my take. So if we go down, yeah, I mean, it's not till 25 that you're getting into things close to that. It's going to be pretty stars and scrubsy if you're playing Tampa and Colorado, but maybe that works. Who's Colorado? Tampa's against the Anaheim. Colorado and Edmonton. There's a matchup. So, I mean, that could be fun. I get one in there, but it's a little kind of a late night hammer for this slate. Got McKinnon, Druin, Rantanen, Lehkonen. Yeah, I mean, the fact that Colorado is money line, I mean, usually they're a heavy favorite and they're priced that way. But because they're not, they're more of a pick-em against Edmonton, it's changing their pricing around. And you get some premier names in there that you don't normally get to. So, all right. There's two different ways to do it. One with SaberSim's projections, one with Goldie that gets you pretty damn different in a cool way. And that's a look at tonight's slate. If you have any questions, ask in Discord. Remember, you can go to TrueDFS and get these projections and get access to SaberSim, all for just about the same price as a normal SaberSim subscription. So you get the access to sheets in Discord and Goldie in Discord and the projections. It's a really good deal. So highly recommend it. And leave a comment below. Thanks for checking out the video. And we will see you in those NHL DFS streets. Thanks.